Help wanted. John needed money, badly. Bills piled up on his counter. He scrolled through job listings, desperation gnawing at him. Then he saw it, a peculiar ad, almost too good to be true. Night watchman required, high pay, no experience necessary. Intrigued, John dialed the number. The voice on the other end was gruff, barely a whisper. "You interested?" the voice asked. John hesitated. "Tell me more about the job," he said. The voice chuckled. "You'll see. Come to the address tomorrow night, 9 sharp." The address led John to a deserted warehouse. Inside, a lone figure awaited him. The man was tall and gaunt, his face obscured by shadows. He handed John a single key. "You watch the screens, report anything unusual, nothing more." He led John to a dimly lit room. Rows of flickering screens lined the walls, each displaying a different room. The air hung heavy with the hum of static. The man pointed to a screen in the corner. "That one. She's the one you watch." The screen showed a woman in a white dress. She occupied a sparsely furnished room, a single bed, a table, a chair, and an easel with a half-finished painting. She paced back and forth, her face etched with worry. John watched her for hours. She never spoke, never slept, just paced and painted, a captive in her own silent world. He felt a pang of sympathy for her, this mysterious woman trapped in the cold glow of his monitors. Days turned into nights. John became consumed by the woman in white. He studied her every move, every brushstroke. He noticed the bars on the windows, the heavy steel door, the lack of any way in or out. It wasn't a room, it was a cell. He tried to focus on other screens, but his eyes always drifted back to her. There was a sadness in her eyes that drew him in, a silent plea for help that he couldn't ignore. He had to know who she was and why she was being held prisoner. Her paintings began to change. The once bright colors turned dark and frantic. She painted swirling vortexes, menacing figures, and a recurring motif, an eye looking out from behind bars. It was as if her fear and desperation were bleeding onto the canvas. One day she collapsed in front of the easel, her body racked with sobs. John watched helplessly, his heart pounding in his chest. He felt a surge of protectiveness towards her, a desire to reach through the screen and pull her from her misery. He started replaying the footage, scrutinizing every detail. He noticed her lingering on certain paintings, her finger tracing specific lines. Then it hit him. She wasn't just painting her emotions, she was leaving a message. He studied the paintings again, this time focusing on the lines she traced. He connected the lines, his heart quickening with each stroke. Slowly, a chilling message began to emerge, hidden in plain sight within the chaotic strokes. "Find me." The words formed by the lines she traced sent shivers down his spine. She wasn't just asking for any help, she was asking for help. She knew he was watching, but how? John's blood ran cold. He was no longer just an observer. He was now a participant in her desperate bid for freedom. He had to act, but he was trapped too. Bound by fear, and the uncertainty of what awaited him on the other side of the screens. John couldn't ignore her plea. He had to do something. He grabbed his phone, his hand shaking. He dialed the emergency services, his voice trembling as he whispered the address of the warehouse. As he spoke, his eyes remained glued to the screen. He watched as the woman in white suddenly stopped painting. She turned towards the camera, her eyes meeting John's through the screen. For the first time, a small, hopeful smile touched her lips. The police arrived, sirens blaring, breaking the eerie silence of the warehouse. John led them to the surveillance room, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. But as they burst into the room, they found only rows of blank screens. The room was empty, the woman, the paintings, all gone. The only evidence of her existence was the lingering scent of paint and the haunting message on John's phone. "Thank you." John stared at the blank screen, a chill running down his spine. He was left with more questions than answers. Who was she? Who was holding her captive? And how did she vanish without a trace? He had helped her escape, but into whose hands had he delivered her?